You know what? You're not gonna be pucking me when we get 40. I'm letting you know that right now. This shit gonna stop one day, dude. Well, it ain't gonna stop today. So light it up before I beat that ass. I'm thinking of something right there. That's some good shit, right? No. What? You a badass influence on my life. Ever since I've been kicking it with you, my life has been in shambles, dude. Give me my gun.
You know, when you analyze everything that happened in Next Friday, Day kind of has a point. Like, it's funny how everybody sees Craig as the responsible one, but the only time you pretty much see Craig being responsible at all is when he checked Smokey for getting him in trouble with Big Worm.
That's your problem. Ain't nobody playing but you. Yeah. But name one person in the hood that play like that.
And I guess in Friday After Next when he threw that party to pay his rent. But even then, that's still sort of irresponsible, because it's like, why you waiting till the last minute to pay your rent anyway, you know? And if you think that, like, I'm reaching or like being crazy by saying Craig is responsible, it's like, well, Craig was never really responsible to begin with. I mean, he doesn't even have a job. Like, all 3 Fridays, Craig ain't got no job. That was like his running gag throughout the whole series. Let me rephrase that. He did have a job in Friday After Next, but he got fired on the first day. At least Day, he kind of kept his job until Craig came in there and got him fired. But we're going to talk about that later, though. So I'm going to show y'all on how Craig was a bad influence in Next Friday when it came to Day. So with no further ado, let's get into the video. Now, the first issue I want to address is not Craig's fault at all, but Craig could have and should have done something about it. And it's when Dwana come and key Day's car while all of this is going on. He doesn't even have the decency to call Day down and tell him what's going on. He over there having a whole conversation with Uncle Elroy. And maybe like a couple minutes later, he tells Uncle Elroy, like, hey, who's that girl keying Day's car? And then Uncle Elroy called Day down.
Uncle, who's that out there with Day's car?
That's Dwana, boy's ex. Hey, Day! That crazy bitch out there again!
Again, this right here wasn't Craig's fault at all. Only issue I have with it is that, like, he just sat there and then watched what was happening. And he was the first to see it all. He could have, at the very least, warned Day what was going on. And the fact that he didn't, it kind of makes him a bad influence. Now, the next reason why I say Craig is a bad influence is the whole incident with Chico. And this was definitely Craig's fault. So, Carla is the sister of the Joker brothers in Next Friday. The Joker brothers are like the main antagonists. Plural for antagonists. How about that? And I think it doesn't take... I feel like people that's not even from the hood can attest that, like, you don't mess with the gangs, with a gang member's mother, his sister, or his daughter. Especially Latin gangs. Man, you just asking for it. And Craig being, from the streets with all the street smarts, I feel like he knows better than to do some shit like that. But what does Craig do? He tries to spit game at Carla anyway, in front of her brothers, after Day specifically told him not to, as there's been tension between him and them. And what happens to Craig and Day? They both get chased by Chico. Man, poor Day. I feel for him. And finally, when Chico stops terrorizing them two, Craig have the nerve to say this.
Look at my roof. You play too much. Now, if I get into it with them, I gotta live here and you don't. Don't be getting it. You gonna get me in trouble. Get out the way. Move. Just move. I was just trying to help your scary ass.
Man, set your ass down.
It's like, what the hell? So I guess getting someone chased by a dog and messing up their car roof is helping them. Man, shut your dumb ass up, Craig. See what I mean? Bad influence. Next thing that Craig does is that he screwed over Day Day and Roach because Craig decided to fight Day Day's boss. Now, while Craig was being held at gunpoint because the door was locked, I think Day Day locked the door, but still. And not to mention the whole area smelled like weed. You know, I think it's pretty understandable that like Pinky was like was wondering like, what the hell is this? You know? But I think the real nail in the coffin is when Pinky and Craig got into a fight over the gun. I mean, Pinky had every right to point the gun at Craig, and then when Pinky dropped the gun, Craig doesn't run away and tell Daddy like, hey, who's this Jerry curl wearing ass nigga with a gun? Nah, he goes straight to the gun and gets into a fight and fights Pinky for the gun. And I think that fight alone is what got was like Pinky saying that like oh, you fired. I think if Craig would have just like ran back and told Daddy like, hey man, who this dude with a gun or whatever, I think Pinky would have been like, don't do that shit no more. And then not only did Day Day get fired, Roach get fired too. So not only he's a bad influence on his cousin, but he a bad influence to his cousin's co-worker. Man, this dude is just the worst.
These same. In a strange way, I feel responsible for Day Day getting fired.
Oh gee, you think so? Last instance is when Day Day and Roach both got held for ransom by the Joker brother. And all of this was Craig's idea. First, he broke inside of the Joker brothers' house to take their pump, they money pump or whatever. Instead of just taking a pump and get back out, he just sat there and just count the money. It's like, nigga, just take the pump and go home. What are you doing? And because of this, when Day Day and Roach ended up going inside of the house of the Joker brothers find out the pump was missing. The Joker brothers decided to tie up Day Day and Roach. If Craig would have just got out of there, Day Day was still there by the time that he found the pump. If he would have just got out of there and just ended up just leaving and getting Roach with him and taking Roach with him, this would have been a success. But no, he just had to sit in there and count all the damn money. And now Day Day's like, oh man, where Craig at? And then, man, see what I mean? What was worst about this whole situation? Craig didn't even save Day Day. You know who saved Day Day? Willie, Uncle Elroy, Chico, and the police. The only help that Craig did in this situation is fight the smallest Joker out of the three. Fight which he lost, by the way. But in conclusion, Craig is a bad influence on Day Day. Like, soon as Craig got into Retro Cucamonga, Day Day got chased by a dog, fired, and kidnapped. It's safe to say that Craig became a Smokey 2.0. But anyways, man, that's all I got. This is your boy Perfect Cell, and I'm Ghost. One love.
Sweet Mary J, Mary Kate, and Ashley, two twins rolled up. I think it was